So right now I'm going to teach you how to make this cinematic looking shot using only lighting and the iPhone itself. Maybe we make a backplane, but I'll show you exactly how to do this step by step. So let's go ahead and rotate this empty around because the empty is connected to our iPhone RY90 and I actually want the camera part to be visible. So I'm going to press RX 180 and now it is laying down on the ground, let's say. So what I'm going to do basically is simply adding a plane and I'm going to scale this up and I'm going to make sure that the iPhone is not coming through the plane. So now it's seated on the plane. I'm heading over into cycles. Let's go over here, GPU. Let's open this up and let's see what this looks like. All right, this is not the most cinematic shot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in an HDRI. I'm going to open that up, add our Canary Wharf, and it's way too strong, so I'm going to set it to 0.1. So now it's pretty dark, but we do get some cool looking reflections. And that's basically all that we need. Now I'm going to make sure that we have a camera, so Control-Alt-0 and place the camera somewhere over here. And maybe we can do a very big close-up on this camera item. So I'm going to set this to 80mm, zoom this out just a little bit and make sure that it looks pretty decent. Of course, this is not really the end of the render. So what we need to do is bring in some depth of field because that will make it look cinematic. And the way to do it is simply by bringing in an empty plane axis, going into the camera, to the camera mode, to depth of field and selecting this picker tool and selecting our empty. And now if we decrease this number, you can actually see that things are becoming blurry except for the area where the empty is located. So I'm going to increase this number by a little bit until this looks like a very natural bokeh. I'm going to set it to 1.2 actually. And in this case, that looks fine for what we are trying to do. Now, of course, we also see a little bit of this white plane in the background. And there's two things that we can do. We can either set this to black, so give it a color and set it to black. But what I like to do in this specific case is by adding a Control-Shift-T, a new texture, and it's going to be Wood 41. I'm going to select Wood 41, bring it in there, and now we have a wood texture on this plane. And that also looks pretty good, but we should probably change the UVs, and we're going to do something else with it. I'm going to add a color ramp right over here on the roughness, and I'm going to bring this right over there, and the white one to the right a little bit. And now it's a bit more reflective. May not be the most real looking floor that you've ever seen, but I think it's good for what we are trying to do. To change the UV, so let's go over there and scale it upwards just a little bit. So maybe it looks a bit more natural than what we've got going on before. What I'm going to do right now is simply bringing in a area lamp. So area lamp right over there. Bring it upwards and let's see if we can get a cool looking light on this. I'm going to RX, RY just a little bit, RZ just a little bit as well, and move it on the X axis so the light is actually coming from over there. Now let's increase the power of this just a little bit, something like so. And now basically all we have to do is make sure that we can rotate this light. And the way that I'm going to do it is quite simple. I'm going to add another empty. I'm going to select a different one. I'm going to select sphere. And I want to parent this light to the sphere. So I'm going to select the light first, then the sphere, Control P, parent it and keep the transform. Now, if we move this sphere around, you can actually see that our lighting is moving around the camera as well. And that's exactly what we want because now we can decide exactly how this will look. So let's see, we can make a cool looking lighting animation like this. And I am simply going to make some keyframes. So on the timeline, I am going to have it start from, let's say, right over there because I think it looks pretty cool. Going to press I on the empty and let's say 48 frames is fine for what we are trying to do. It's only 2 seconds, 48 frames, R and Z, and then I'm going to rotate it like this towards this area all the way over here. Press I, let's see what it looks like. That's pretty cool looking if you ask me. So I'm going to try and increase the passepartout. This is what we're actually going to be viewing in the render. The floor is looking pretty good. I believe that the lighting is looking pretty good. And only right over here do I notice something that I don't like. It's the reflection in the floor. So I'm going into the shader editor and I'm going to make sure that this reflection is a bit dampened. So now it is pretty much all right. We can either increase or decrease the reflection. And we can also do it by bringing this black color to more of a white color. And let's see what it looks like. I think this is pretty cool. And now this is basically the way the render looks. Of course, you can always opt for increasing the value on the focal length. So if you want it to be even more of a close-up like this, you can definitely do that and change around the depth of field. But this is the basis of the animation. Now there's only one more thing that we can do that I think will add a little bit of value to this render. I'm going to select this lens, I'm going to press on dot, and it's lenses camera 2 apparently. So I'm going to add an area lamp. area lamp, go over to the object properties, to shading, light linking, new. And I'm going to drag in lenses camera 2 right over there. And let's select our area lamp. And we're going to increase the power of this a whole bunch. And you can already see what it's doing. It's lighting up our lenses. And what I want to do is give it a slight edge highlight right over there. So it shouldn't be too strong, but it should be just enough in order to give it that edge highlight. Maybe bring it downwards just a little bit. And that is quite to my liking. Now what we can also do is Shift D, RZ, rotate it around, bring it somewhere else to give it another edge highlight. And maybe this one is a bit more subtle. We're going to bring it down and it looks like this. This one is a slight streak, this one is a little bit more. And what you can also do is even change the color. So if you want to make this look like an actual camera lens, you can make this a little bit more blue. And then take the other one right over there and make it a bit more reddish. Let's see what it does. That's also very cool. Maybe a bit more towards this side or pinkish, something like this. And now it's starting to look like an actual camera lens once again. And we can also take this original area light and bring it over here. G and Z, bring it down, bring it right over there. G and Z. Decrease the spread until we get only a little small area right over there, which is going to be a bit harsher. And we can change the color to perhaps a greenish tone if you would like, or something yellowish or orange, or the initial pink. But this is a bit too strong, so I'm going to decrease the power by a whole bunch and give it only that slight touch. And now if we look at this, it is starting to look like actual camera lens reflections, even though we didn't make any actual reflections. And this is the way that our render is going to be set up. We are not going to change anything else. The lighting is moving around and we've got a pretty cool animation. Now, one thing that you do want to make sure is that you grab this empty, you know, the circular one. So we're going to grab the circular empty, which is right over here. And this one I want to make linear, otherwise it will seem a little bit cheap. So now it's just moving around linearly, like so. And that makes sure that we have a pretty cool looking render where the light is moving around the camera. Don't worry about this noise, it's going to be removed. And if you don't like this camera effect, simply don't do it. All right, so that's it for this tutorial. It was a very easy one. All we had to do was set up some lighting and make sure that our iPhone is flat on the table. If you enjoyed this video, please click on subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.
I get the money and it's right on cue. Keep the duffel bag up inside my coupe. Hold a couple racks, tell them I love you. You wanna be a boss, do it like I do.